You don't have to. That's the key. The freedom.
You do you, Roxanne.
That is the key. The freedom is the key. Did it pop up yet?
Yeah, I hit publish. So.
Oh, we're live then.
I told you it was red.
Well, it turns red before the publish even pops up. So, Producer Phil trolling us by letting us sing Roxanne.
Gonna get a copyright.
On YouTube.
I'm gonna get a copyright.
Speaking of copyright, I don't mind saying this while we're live, but we are getting tagged for the trailers in these videos, even though we're not showing them full screen. Every time it's happened, they've let it go. Like, obviously, we're not breaking copyright.
Yeah.
So, but just so you're aware, I mean, honestly, I don't know. We can think about if we need them or not, if it's just an annoyance. But if people like them in there, I don't care disputing. It just means every week I have to go in and dispute and then wait for them to figure it out. Welcome to the
life of Andrew from 2013.
Well, no, I know. 13. I know how it goes.
To be honest, it's up to you what you want to do for the video. It's not a big deal for me to add it into just the podcast if you want to do that. So
I mean, I kind of lean that way, but I don't know.
You could basically go back to the way that you used to do it, which was, insert star audio here.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I haven't got to do that in a long time. Thank you so much for joining us for the spoilers of Ad Astra. We're going to chat about the things that we didn't get to chat about during that. Oh, interesting. Sorry, I just got distracted. I accidentally left up the page where I created the event for this live stream, and I realized it's actually like where you can watch it, you can see viewers, all the chats there, all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
You are not aware of this?
I was not aware. I just used to go to the site to do that. I heard Penn Jillette today in a podcast I listened to defend cultural appropriation in an interesting way. Do you want to hear about it while we're live on YouTube?
For shizzles.
So cultural appropriation, as you know, is the idea that you take something that comes about in one culture, and then a culture who has more strength or power appropriates that for commercial reasons. So one of the biggest examples is like Elvis Presley, appropriated the music of soul artists and R&B artists and rock and roll, quote unquote, which didn't really exist before Elvis.
Yeah.
To become famous doing things that other people did. I shouldn't say he defended cultural appropriation at large, but he was talking about how important it is for us to really enjoy the things that other cultures do well, and that a part of imitating other cultures is because we like it.
It's appreciation.
It's appreciation, yeah. And so, and again, like with most things, there's a balance, right? There's an understanding of what is more leaning on the side of stealing and abuse, as far as using something without, whatever, the Elvis example, kind of thing, and what is more appreciation and giving, proper citation, all that kind of stuff. Anyways, I found it interesting, so I thought I'd let you know about that.
That's cool.
Yeah, there you go. Welcome to a conversation you weren't even planning on having with us.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Ad Astra. We'll do the spoiler cast here, and if you're in the chat and have anything to say, just let me know. You ready, Andrew?
Oh, yeah.
Producer Phil, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Welcome to the SiftSpoil for Ad Astra. We're going to talk about all the spoilers for the movie, so in case you haven't seen it, you might want to go away.
They all die.
We're going to be talking about hanging threads, romances, jokes, Easter eggs, cameos, deaths, resurrections, and post-credit sequences are some of the things we might talk about. So why don't you start, Andrew, because I know you wanted to point out some specific scenes, things that emphasize... like the space baboons. We can start there, because I know you hate it. Is that your least favorite scene in the movie?
Yes.
Okay, so basically on the way to Neptune, there's a distress call, and space baboons have eaten the crew. So tell me about what your problem with this is.
So I understand. Like, I get why there are...
You can't even say it.
Because it's so stupid. I understand.
Well, they're researching animals,
baboons in space. I get that. And then they ran out of food or something, and the baboons started eating the crew.
Well, I think the baboons just got loose, and they couldn't, That scene was pretty incredible, though. Like,
Was it?
Yeah, it really was.
It was so stupid.
I don't know. I found, and of course, the importance of that scene in the movie is that we're learning about how nothing gets under Brad Pitt's character's skin. Like, his heart rate just stays steady, stays low, even when a space baboon is eating, another crew member, hand first apparently, and hand and nose, which I think is pretty accurate. I think that's actually what they go for. Go for those appendages.
Yeah.
Anyhow, that's the point of the scene, is that he handles. It's the same point of the scene later. I think later, because it's the landing on Mars. The landing scene on Mars.
Yeah, because the major or lieutenant or whatever was
panics.
Flustered.
Yeah, and just the way he handles that is just so steady.
Yeah.
And again, those scenes all set up how when he actually isn't steady and he does elevate his heart rate is when he starts to try to reconcile his father, his relationship with his father, who his father is, and the microphone scene where he's trying to send a message, which that was a very prayer-oriented scene to me. Like, it's almost him praying to his father. And what's interesting is somebody who's grown up in a prayer-based faith, the idea of liturgical prayers, which was his first written, statement, talking to his father. And then the second one was more conversational prayer.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that just kind of really popped out at me. That was the first time I really started thinking about that metaphor, was during that scene. And just kind of how so much of what's happening here feels like, prayer and to a higher power and those kind of things.
Yeah.
So anyways, I kind of stole us away from the baboons, but...
Oh, yeah, that's what we were talking about, space baboons. Okay, so can you understand what I'm saying about this level of ridiculousness? You mentioned...
To the space baboon. Why is it ridiculous? I don't understand why it's ridiculous.
Space baboons.
But they took baboons into space.
Yeah.
To study. Like, what? How is that ridiculous? That's not ridiculous.
Because if you're talking about commercialization for of the solar system, we are beyond having animals in space, or a need to have
but
research.
Not deep space.
It wasn't deep space.
It was deep space. It was on the way to Neptune.
It was on the way to Mars.
It was on the way to Mars?
Yeah.
I think it was on the way to Neptune.
It can't be on the way to Neptune because the captain was eaten by the baboon, and the major had trouble landing on Mars. Remember? The major who replaced the captain, who just got eaten by the baboon.
Yes, that is correct.
I know I'm right.
Yeah, I think you're right. So, how did the others... Oh, he snuck on the Neptune rocket.
And that's what I was talking about, slapstick. Remember I was talking about how...
That wasn't slapstick.
As soon as the rocket
thrust... That was terrifying.
It was so stupid.
I think this is a really good example of mindset and how it impacts us. Yeah. I was so into this movie. I found that tense and terrifying, and like the tension really worked for me. And I think maybe because you weren't into this movie, for you it was just ridiculous and slapstick. And
here's why it was slapstick.
Nobody tripped over anything.
Every single death.
Wasn't Dick Van Dyke tripping over an ottoman?
Every single death from him sneaking on that ship was accidental. There was never an intentional death.
Well, right, because we didn't want him to kill people,
But the fact that they all killed themselves is so stupid.
But it all happened because of the same thing, pretty much.
The first
lady took a shot at him. That shot hit a canister that had some sort of gas in it. The first lady
died because the rocket thrusters started, and she got slammed into...
Okay. But that's not slapstick. That would happen.
No. And then the other guy shot the canister. She didn't
slip on a banana peel.
The other guy shot the canister that poisoned
everybody. And that killed them, both of them,
That's stupid.
I totally disagree. But that's okay. That's okay. I really do think it's a mindset thing. The truth is probably somewhere in between us, I'm guessing.
Probably.
But yeah, I definitely wasn't in that mindset. I would never have called that scene slapstick.
Yeah. What did you think about here's unimportant characters? There was a plethora of them in this movie.
Well, there's a difference between unimportant and temporary. But continue.
Donald Sutherland, very unimportant.
Except that, again, he's representing something about the relationship, about giving information. There's almost a priest element to the Donald Sutherland character that is helping McBride deal with his relationship with his father, who he really was. He's giving him, more information. He's kind of connecting him, the dots, because he's more from his father's generation.
Yeah.
Like, he's almost a father stand-in. Like, he's a father figure stand-in for him, and we get the sense that he has been before, which, again, is a very priestly idea. The priest kind of stands in the Catholic Church as, God in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So I think that was, for me, that was his role, and that was his purpose.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to disagree, but I'm not.
That's fine. No,
Yeah.
as with a lot of this, it's totally fine.
The mindset of Brad Pitt fluctuates so much in this movie on his feelings towards his father that for me it was jarring to go from him saying my father's a hero to my father's a traitor to the next scene my father's a hero, and that he going back and forth on that.
I mean, that's definitely the point of the movie, is him trying to figure that out.
Yeah, but for me it was I never saw a moment where he learned something about his father and then that influenced his changing of mind.
It's the letting go moment. It's supposed to be, at least, is the moment where he lands. And again, a lot of this is informed by kind of the metaphorical layer that I put over this. And I don't even know if it's intentional. Metaphors are weird like that. It may not have even been something they thought about. It may just be that personally I saw it. I don't know. Yeah. But the idea of letting go of his father was him saying that this image he has of his father is not the important thing. The important thing for him is to be able to find beauty apart from who his father was.
Yeah.
So the idea, there's this thing he says towards the end about the discoveries that his father was making, that he missed the beauty of what he did, because the father character, by the way, Tommy Lee Jones, whose name we haven't mentioned until now, playing this character. But this father character, the motivation in the story proper is he wants to find alien life. And he's so distracted by the fact that he didn't find alien life that the son is saying he missed all these beautiful planets that he discovered because, can't see the forest for the trees, kind of thing. And I have heard specifically atheists talk about that idea of, you don't need a God to see the world as a beautiful thing. You can look around and see beauty without that. And sometimes what they see in people of faith is missing the forest for the trees, is thinking that it has to be because there's a God that things are beautiful. And you can't look at you can't look at that sunset and tell me there's not a God. You know what I mean? That kind of idea.
Yeah.
And so I think the movie is kind of wrestling with the idea of what fathers mean, what God means, and can that be let go of? And so I think that's supposed to be the resolution of that turmoil in his life, is when he lets go.
Yeah.
And then after that, he's content.
I gotta look up her name.
Is it Ruth Negga?
There we go.
I love Ruth Negga.
I was going to ask you guys about her because that's another name I don't think has come up yet. How much is she in the movie?
Not much.
Yeah.
No, not much at all. Her role primarily in the story is to get him on the Neptune ship, and to also be part of his journey of reconciling his father, because she is telling him about that basically his dad killed her parents, because her parents were on that trip with him, Lima Project or Lima Project or whatever. So, and again, I was in full headspace metaphor by that point, and to me, it's the person saying, people with your faith have killed people for believing differently than them, have killed, like that kind of idea of, I could never be this faith because I've seen what that does to people, right. Kind of idea. So,
issue with her scene is the fact that this entire movie, Brad Pitt has been on this need to know basis. yet this woman who is not even a high up official, she's even being told by others, you don't have clearance for this. You can't come in here. She somehow has access to classified files to give Brad Pitt about his father in the Lima Project, which are supposedly top secret. So how does she have access to give to him these files?
Yeah, I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know.
This movie's awful. No.
Well, it doesn't mean it's not possible.
No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
But do you remember when I said that I felt this movie was open-ended on its ending?
Oh, yeah. Tell me about that.
I think the movie is open-ended on the fact that you can decide whether or not Tommy Lee Jones was actually there or not, or if that was all a hallucination.
Tell me why. I mean, I can understand. I mean, again, I was looking for that possible interpretation, but I don't think the movie ever hints that he's not.
I think the fact that on his way from Mars to Neptune, he's not in any type of cryogenic sleep or anything.
Sure.
He's going crazy, being alone and doing nothing for, 72 days? Or
sure.
Like an insane amount of time.
Yeah.
So I think that by that time his mental faculties are compromised, so we can't take anything he is seeing for truth. And the fact that okay, sorry.
But the movie's not saying that. The movie's not indicating anything to us in any way that might be the case.
I think it is.
I think it might be the case only in that, of course, it could be the case.
If you're going off your religious metaphor, then it definitely is how it's open-ended whether God is real or not.
Well, I'm not sure the movie intends for it to be open-ended. I think the movie may be about letting go of the idea of God being real. So if...
Or
God being important, I should say.
Okay. So I can come at this from two different ways. If the movie's telling me Tommy Lee Jones' character is alive and that Brad Pitt actually finds him near Neptune...
That's the only interpretation I came away with.
Then I think that the movie is ridiculous.
Okay.
On the simple fact that Tommy Lee Jones has been surviving. We don't know how. There's so many unanswered questions.
Well, that's true. The movie doesn't attempt to answer the scientific questions of how are we doing that much travel in that quick of a time.
Yes.
And how are people surviving? I mean, I guess the closest it comes to trying to answering that is the stomach tube.
Yeah.
The idea that there's internal feeding going on.
But for 16 years,
I don't know. The movie doesn't address it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I come at this movie from the mindset that Tommy Lee Jones is real, then I think that the movie just falls flat on everything that it's wanting to tell me, because there is no catharsis between Brad Pitt and Tommy Lee Jones. I feel
there is. It's the letting go.
I don't think that that's letting go is anything. How am I going to say this?
No, it's fine. I mean, it could just be a matter of it impacted me one way and you a different way, or didn't impact you at all.
Yeah, it didn't impact me at all because I didn't feel like it was earned, if that makes sense. And if I come at this from
I understand what you're saying.
If I come at this from another standpoint of thinking that this is all in Brad Pitt's mind, in that Tommy Lee Jones wasn't there and that it was all in his head, then nothing else, then it's also not earned.
Well, that doesn't make sense to me. I'm not seeing both as possible. I don't understand the Tommy Lee Jones not being real, how that would be possible.
I think that for me is just more realistic, because the thought of him traveling through space for this amount of time, and since there are so many unanswered questions about the science of how we do this, that the thought of Tommy Lee Jones being alive and that him finding his father, traveling from Earth to Neptune and being out of the range of the sun, so everything is, finding him is trying to find a needle in a stack of needles, and the fact that he finds him and his dad is the only one there and that it's just him and his dad, that is so ridiculous and far-fetched for me.
Interesting.
That I find that this all being in his mind, and that him trying to cathartically deal with this mentally, because since he can't do it, actually, is more believable to me than him actually being there.
Okay.
But at the same time, if that's the case, then I think that the movie falls short on any message of if he wasn't really there, then this whole journey was for naught.
I'll state once again, just because I disagree. I'll state once again. I think the movie clearly is telling a literal story. I don't think it ever indicates that, because again, I thought that it might go there, and I just never felt it go there.
And I did.
So another possible disagreement.
Exactly.
I also the other metaphorical thing I noticed in that scene where he meets his father is how he is standing below.
Oh, and
his dad is above, and this goes either way. This doesn't just apply to this weird religious faith metaphor I've put on this. It's a literal father-son thing, looking up to your father, and then by the time he gets up on equal footing with his father, their dynamic has changed, like their relationship has changed in some interesting ways. So I found that the way that scene was blocked was really, really interesting to me. So I enjoyed that as well. I don't really have anything other to mention. I think we've kind of covered the things we wanted to cover in spoilers.
One of the quote-unquote action scenes I actually thought was kind of okay was the moon pirates.
I was going to say, man, you got to love moon pirates, man. Although,
have you seen this, Phil?
No, I'm going to go see it either tonight or tomorrow night.
So we're talking about space baboons and moon pirates.
It sounds ridiculous. It does. But,
thank you. It sounds ridiculous.
But it's not.
But I'm going to hold my opinion until I watch it.
It's a movie that really wants to be 2001: A Space Odyssey.
I tell you what, I really loved the opening scene. Did you dig that? The huge antenna, the space antenna?
Yeah. No.
The perspective on it was fascinating to me. The idea that we had built this antenna that literally was in space but connected to the ground was mind-blowing to me.
Which is physically impossible, but
the movie kind of I don't know, maybe it is, but I believed it. I believed that it was possible based on what I saw in the movie.
Well, we've even had discussions about how skyscrapers can't be past a certain, height because of the weight. It just can't support itself.
Well, right, but the way the base of this thing was also apparently, 100 miles wide or whatever the case. You know what I'm saying? Like the fact that I don't know, it looked possible to me, and I guess that was enough.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed, again, another scene that's meant to emphasize how nothing impacts him.
And the movie starts off with the words "near future." Nothing about this seems near. It all seems.
It all depends, man.
Again,
advanced artificial intelligence can change things in a heartbeat. If we do artificial superintelligence that actually cares about human life,
not happening.
That could happen. So
they're not going to care about us.
Well, that will determine whether we are extinct or eternal.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's our spoiler thoughts on Ad Astra, and I, for one, am glad we have disagreed over the last few weeks. That's a lot of fun. This is quite a disagreement, though. This is like both sides of the spectrum.
Yeah, I never want to see this movie again.
I'm excited to see it again for sure. Cannot wait. All right, we will catch you next week. Not sure whether we'll be doing spoilers on the laundromat or not. Probably not, I'm guessing, but we'll see.
Out.
We'll find out next week. We'll catch you then, guys.
Bye.